Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Supergirl Season 6 review series. And today I am going to be talking about episode 18, Truth or Consequences, which I have just finished watching. And this episode was actually one of the better ones of Season 6 and I really enjoyed this one a lot. And this episode was a little bit more serious than some of the previous episodes of this season, not so bland, and there actually was a heavy price to pay as we saw a character get killed off at the end of this episode, and it was a character that I wasn't really expecting to see get killed off. I fully expected this character to live because this character has slowly grown into becoming an important one for Supergirl and her team of friends. So to see this character actually get killed off at the end of this episode was something that I didn't expect to see, nor did I see coming. I thought that maybe they'll get shot and they'll survive in the next episode, but this character actually died at the end, and I'll tell you who that is in a moment. And we are now two more episodes away from season 6 officially wrapping up for good. So we've got episode 19 and we've got episode 20, and that's it. So that means we are two more reviews away from wrapping up this review series for good. And before we get into talking about episode 18, season 6 for me has been very up and down. Not up and down in the sense like Legends of Tomorrow up and down, but up and down as in there hasn't really been a direction for this season. It doesn't really feel like this is going to be the end. It just feels like a normal show because, at least with Arrow, although the show was a very short season, you knew it was the end. And they made that very clear going in that this is going to be it, this is what's going to happen. And obviously, we know how Arrow ended after season 8. But with Supergirl season 6, I don't know really. There doesn't really feel like there's anything big at stake. We know we have the whole Totem story arc that's going on at the moment, but I don't really feel that this is big. I think the last time, for me anyway, that we had such a big threat was probably season 3 with Rain. That was the last time that you really had a real villain that really caused a lot of trouble for Supergirl. No disrespect to John Cryer as Lex Luthor, he's been the saving grace for Supergirl, especially in the second half of the show's run. But aside from that, I'm not really clicking with Nixley as the main villain because I thought that once they wrapped up the whole Phantom Zone stuff at the beginning, we would move on to something completely different. But now they've pushed Nixley as the main villain for season 6, and now they've paired Nixley and Lex Luthor together as a team to take down Supergirl and all of her friends and retrieve all of the totems. Mm, I would say if not for Lex Luthor, I probably wouldn't care as much, but that's going to be for another story for another time. But anyway, this episode was very good, very enjoyable, and a little bit more serious and not so bland. There were a couple bits in this episode that I just didn't care much for, but aside from that, this was a good, solid episode and pretty good, in my opinion. And of course, we are gearing up towards a wedding. We are going to be seeing Alex and Kelly get married. And from what I've seen, that's going to take place in the show's series finale. So that should be a good one. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to play out. So I'm going to give a quick recap of what's happened so far, and then we're just going to get straight into talking about episode 18. So, what we have seen so far is Nixley and Lex Luthor are indeed working together, and we see that Supergirl and all of her friends are trying to get all of the totems away from Lex Luthor and Nixley to stop them from assembling the All Stone. But every time they look like they're won the day. Something always comes in the way of their victory. So, with what's been going on so far, Nixley has now got the truth totem, so she is now able to get people to tell the truth. Kind of similar to how Wonder Woman uses the lasso of truth, but with Nixley, she uses it more in an evil kind of way. So it's interesting to see that Lex Luthor is declaring his love for Nixley. You know, something you don't normally see Lex Luthor do is actually admitting that he cares about someone. But it's been interesting to see nonetheless. But as I said, this episode was very enjoyable. Some bits that I didn't care much for. I think the ending was probably the one that I didn't see coming. You know, we saw a tragic moment take place. As I said at the beginning, someone gets killed off, and I'm going to tell you who that is in a moment. So, with that all said, let's get straight into it. Let's talk about episode 18, Truth or Consequences. So we see at the tower, William tells Supergirl and her friends that he met with Otis and he's found out something that is very troubling. But Lena has better news about a venue for Alex and Kelly's bachelorette party. However, before any celebrations could take place, we learn that William's reports of Lex Luthor's personal diary entries have been leaked, except it wasn't by William, and he rushes off to Catco and confronts Andrea, who is the one who leaked the news, and calls her out for her behaviour. Now, Andrea, she's no Cat Grant. We all know that. Andrea has always been about looking out for number one and getting the best story possible, and she doesn't care how. With Cat Grant, she was kind of like that, but the difference between Andrea and Kat was Kat has a heart, and in her own weird way, Kat does actually genuinely care, and she doesn't want to see anyone get hurt. But with Andrea, she doesn't care who she steps on, as long as she gets results. So that's the big difference between those two. Meanwhile, on the Legion ship, we see Brainy gets a call from the future, which upsets him. And we learn later on that the real reason why he's been upset is after the mission is completed, he is required to return to the 31st century in the future, a revelation that we see him wrestle with throughout this episode. And we see Nixley and Lex Luthor are a power couple in the future and manage to create the All-Stone. And we see the Super Friends manage to track down the Lexo suits and find the villains on the ship and discover that they also have the Hope Totem as well. And they manage to ship the Dream Show Totem and make it back to the tower. We see Nixley is upset with Lex now that she's lost the Dream Totem, but she soon gets a lock on the next one. And at Kelly and Alex's, they clean up Esme after she has had to deal with a bully and discover the floral mark on her back, which is what we saw in the last episode. And this was something that wasn't spotted before. And on the ship, we see Brainy communicates with another Brainy, and it turns out he has been ordered to return to the 31st century to save the big brain, and he has to merge with it. He'll see to exist when that happens, and he doesn't want that. He says that he has a family now, he's in love, and there are no more other outcomes. Brainiac 5 will have to go. Oh dear. Lex and Nixie track down the truth totem in a private collection, and it turns out to be a camera. She takes the gauntlet and has to confront the truth within, and she has to admit that she wants to have someone close to her that she can trust and passes the gauntlet. Alex and Kelly bring Esme to the tower so they can run tests just to check her powers. Kara suggests glasses like what she had when she was a kid, but Alex strongly disagrees, and Esme doesn't have to hide who she is, and Alex doesn't want Kara's advice, leading to a couple of words with Alex and Kara. Sister rivalry at its very best. We then see Nia uses the Dream Totem to help her find out where Nixley is, but instead it clues her into Brainy's predicament, and he tells her that he has to go when their conflict with Nixley end, and if he doesn't, it means the end of all of his kind, which is the Kaluans. And we also see Nia can't go with him either because it will disrupt the timeline. They are both heartbroken. Lex tries to talk to Nixley, but she's pretty upset, and she decides to test Lex Luthor to ensure his true intentions. And it actually turns out that Lex Luthor is genuine, and Nixley is very pleased. Andrea calls Lena to see if she thinks Lena crossed an ethical line. Lena reminds her of her tendency and that she has the power to change who she really wants to be. Supergirl and John still have no luck finding Nixley and Lex's ship. Supergirl opens up that she's been avoiding the tower because Alex is mad with her. While he emphasizes, he also suggests that she tries to clear the air before the party. Good advice. William finds Esme playing hide and seek and gives her a baked treat. They talk about baking and he gives her advice on her own dish. Supergirl goes to talk with Alex, who's going to cancel the party since there's nothing in her blood work. Kelly shows up with information about a new alien kid in her school that may explain the little girl's behaviour, and the party is eventually saved. They then get a hit on the ship, and Supergirl and John Jones go to investigate, but Lex and Nixley attack Supergirl. A fight ensues, and Supergirl manages to rip a totem from Nixley's chest plate, and the villains manage to escape in the nick of time, as well as Supergirl and John Jones. The Super Friends now have the totems, and Lex Luthor and Nixley have no ship. It's the first good news that the team have had in a while. Esme wins the baking competition, and William offers to babysit her so that Kelly and Alex can have their party. Supergirl has a heart-to-heart with Alex, and they patch things up. Meanwhile, in Italy, Nixley confronts Lex, and she admits that she's starting to understand why her future self fell for him. The crystal ball lights up and reveals the location of the restored Love Totem. The Super Friends party and celebrate with Kelly and Alex. Brainiac 5 struggles to enjoy himself knowing his fate, so Nia goes after him. Kara can't fully relax, but John encourages her to. At the tower, William and Esme are preparing to clean up when he notices that the security has been disabled. We then see Esme hide and prepares to defend things when Nixie and Lex Luthor show up. Lex holds William hostage at gunpoint, and while he tries to keep Esme hidden, Nixie goes looking for her and eventually finds her. William secretly sets up the event being recorded, and Nixie finds Esme and lures her out, and then Lex shoots William before departing as revenge for leaking the news about his diary entries. William manages to send the video to Andrea before dying. At the party, they get the blood results on Esme and start putting it all together. Andrea gets the video, however, it's all too late as Supergirl and her friends arrive at the scene and they see William is not only dead but Esme is gone, as we bring episode 18 to a very shocking and chilling close. And that wraps up my review. Overall, couple silly bits that I didn't care much for, but aside from that, this was a good, solid episode. And William being the one getting killed off was definitely something I didn't see. I thought he would have lived and maybe eventually learn Kara's secret identity. But to see him actually get killed off, was a very shocking moment because maybe he would have just got shot and maybe he could have survived in the next episode, but he didn't. So I'm really shocked to see that happen. And I was really starting to like William because William was a character ever since he appeared back in season 5, I believe. He was a character that I didn't initially care much for, but I've slowly started to grow to like him. And to see him get killed off was a little bit sad, really. I thought, why would you kill him off? I just didn't really see any points, but it is what it is. But this sets up the next two final episodes in a big way, and William getting killed off, obviously there's going to be repercussions for Lex Luthor's actions. And John Cryer was just at his absolute chilling best, holding the gun. He really is the best Lex Luthor since Michael Rosenbaum, in my opinion. Don't really care much for the team up with him and Nixley, but John Cryer, he makes everything work, so it's all good. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What's your thoughts on Brainiac 5 having to leave after the mission's completed? Do you think there's a way around that? And also, do you think somehow, some way that Nia could go with him? And also, what was your thoughts on William getting killed off? Are you shocked? Did you see that coming? Or was it something that you wasn't really that much bothered about? And also, how do you think this sets up the final two episodes with Supergirl and her friends. What do you think could happen next after learning that William was killed off? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Supergirl Season 6 review series, where I am going to be talking about episode 19, which I am very much looking forward to talking about, especially with the way this episode ended on a very chilling note. Should be a lot of fun. So until next time, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, thanks for listening.